Have you ever hit a moment where success wasn't enough? Where the weight of your past and the scars no one sees or the doubts you don't dare voice keep you from breaking through to the life you know you're capable of? Maybe on the outside, you've achieved more than most, but inside, there's still something holding you back. If that hits home, take a breath. You found your people. You found your tribe. Welcome to That Shit Does Not Define You, Stories of Hope. I'm Athena Captain, joined by my co-host, Jada Haycraft. This isn't just another podcast, friends. It's a space to strip away the labels, the shame, and the invisible barrier standing between you and your next chapter in life.
In every episode, we'll bring you raw, real stories of resilience, people who have rewritten their lives and give you the strategies and tools to do the same. Whether you're climbing out of rock bottom or breaking through to your next level, your future starts here. Let's get started.
You're strong. You survived it. You got through it. You've pushed through it, right? But you know you're a little numb. Survival mode made you get a little numb. And I get it. You had to go numb in order to survive. But we don't need to stay numb. Matter of fact, we need to make sure that we authentically feel what we've been through so we can heal and not be numb, so you can live life and you can know that you matter and that you can live life authentically with real emotions and that you don't have to be numb to be unbroken. You don't. And we are going to talk today to somebody who's lived this. And I'm so excited. So, you guys, if you want to understand how to get, first of all, this is the science about the numbness, why it's there, how do we break through it so we can heal and have a full life. Today, you want to be here. We've got a great person that we're going to talk to. She's a friend of mine. You guys will love her. I'm just telling you. So excited for today. Jada, who's here today?
I am so excited to tell you guys we have Barb Yeary. She's a seasoned business development professional with deep roots in real estate and financial services. Currently, she serves as the business development manager at Stride Bank. Barb brings decades of experience with a special focus on building lasting relationships rooted in trust. But honestly, what sets Barb apart isn't just her professional expertise. It is her personal wisdom that I'm excited for you guys to get to hear today. She carries a wealth of knowledge from how to stay strong without becoming numb in the face of her adversity. Her insight into resilience and emotional strength has made her a steady voice for many, and so I know she's going to be a steady voice for us today. Athena, please help me welcome Barb Yeary.
Yay! I'm so excited you're here, friend. And that we have gotten to talk on a podcast about business because you're amazing at that too. But today we get to share your heart. And I'm so excited about that. Thank you so much for being
I'm
here.
excited too.
So Barb, before we get into questions, will you kind of explain in 30 seconds here, not your professional life, but a little bit about your personal life?
Well, I adopted two teenage boys from foster care. They were adopted in 2016 and 2017, and they are the best thing that ever happened to me. My oldest got married last November, and so I have a new daughter in love and two granddaughters, and I am their baba.
Mm.
And, I'm super active in recovery. I'm a champion of recovery and really anyone who just wants to make their life better.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that requires some hard stuff, but
So
I'm
have you
here
had
for
an
it.
easy road in your life before you adopted your kiddos?
Um, it all depends. Everything's relative, right?
Right.
So, I had a lot of, issues growing up. I've dealt with depression and anxiety pretty much my whole life, which people meet me and they're like, "You're depressed?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And sometimes when I'm my funniest is when I'm my most anxious or depressed, um, because I learned to deal with things with humor or
Right.
pretending it wasn't there. So, really, I just love people, and that's kind of who I am.
You do. You do. I love being in your presence because you always lift me up and we laugh and we have a great time. And so I love that. So today I want to go through, right? We want to talk about the people that are out there, they survived something hard. And I know in your life you survived some hard things in your past relationships, even with your best friend, that your situation that you've shared with me that's private. You've gone through some really hard things. And oftentimes when people go through hard things, they go into survival mode or numbness. Can you take me back to a time when you realized that being strong had actually pushed you to being numb or into survival mode instead of living mode?
Well, what's funny is that when you're in survival mode and numb, you don't really realize that's what you're doing. So I got married in 2010 to a man who I thought was lovely and loving and kind and um, supportive. And we went to like multiple pre-marriage counselings. So I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Well, as we got into our marriage, uh, pretty quickly I learned that things were not what they had seemed or what I had hoped they were. And, my main thing in looking for a partner is I want somebody who's kind and supportive and just a team member. Like, I don't need to be taken care of. I don't need to take care of somebody. Like, let's just go through life together. And as it turned out, that wasn't it. So I realized in about probably 3 or 4 years ago that I'd been in survival mode since about 2010. Um, so that was, I almost filed for divorce um, several years, probably 5 years after we were married. But, I stood before God and my family and promised, till death do us part. And I took it really seriously. And um, I didn't, I, w- I still had hope that things would work out.
Yeah.
So, um, so of course we decided that we'd try to have a baby because what a better way to save a marriage than have a baby.
So many people do that or build a house or buy a
Yes,
house.
all the things. Oh, we built a house too in there.
Wow.
Yeah. And
You did
yeah,
it all.
yeah,
Cliche right
it
there. Wow.
really is a total cliche. So we decided we would have a baby. I've always wanted to be a mother more than I ever wanted a husband. I always wanted to be a mother. So it turned out we couldn't get pregnant. And whether or not that was just God, whether that was, I never cared if it was him or me that was the problem. And in addition to wanting to have a biological child, I always wanted to adopt.
Mm.
So when I was in my 20s and 30s and kind of traveling around, um, I I was looking into adoption. I was always going to adopt, and at the time, foreign adoption was what was going to be available to me as a single mother. Things have changed since then, but so anyway, I convinced my ex-husband that we should look at adopting. And so we had started looking at agencies and kind of I was trying to figure out which way we should go. And do you want to know all these details?
Yeah. Tell your story. You tell your story.
Okay. So anyway, I saw my oldest son on TV on a thing called A Place to Call Home. And it was like God said, "Hey, that's your son." And so oh, that's my son. I called my ex-husband in. I said, I just saw our son on TV. He thought I was crazy. Um, Long story short, he is my son. He's my legally adopted son. It took a long time to get there. I also have another son, Will, who was also supposed to be my child. So, as I see it, God's timing is better than my timing, which is frustrating sometimes. But
Amen.
yes, I mean, it is. I'm like, come on. But JJ wasn't available immediately, it turned out. And so Will, um, moved in and we had, started the process of adopting him. And so God made it so I had my two sons and not just JJ, and it just exactly as it was designed. unfortunately, my ex-husband was not ready for the attention that I would spend on them, the money that I would spend on them, the time, the energy, and it and even though he had been very active in all of the parts of adoption, including
Yeah.
we were like featured on the news for adopting teens because we were trying to promote other people adopting teens because teens, people are scared of adopting teens. And because when you think adoption, you think baby, you think, and you don't think a teenager who already has whatever they've gone through. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that even if they had been my biological kids, there are things they could have gone through. They would have been different things, but nobody gets through this life unscathed. It
Mhm.
just doesn't happen. So, um, just to, he just wasn't ready to be a father, and turned out he wasn't ready to be a husband or a father. And he started being mean to the kids. And so that was a no go. So he, after a couple kind of pretty traumatic um, situations, I uh, had to have him move out. And I tried to be soft about it. And then I finally ended up, I had to call the police and he had to leave. And those were all things that my kids saw, which was traumatizing for me that my kids who came from trauma were now experiencing other trauma.
You're right.
Um, you know, So I was just that whole time, I was just in survival mode, do what the kids needed. I went to work. I mean, I worked, I cooked, I cleaned, I transported, I was all things. And really I was always mother and father to the boys. And then it became legal in 2018 when we divorced, and the boys don't have any contact with him, nor do I. Um and so, essentially, I I just never stopped to think, "How am I feeling about any of this?" Because there's no
Right.
time,
Mhm. Yeah.
there's just no time. Plus, I was so focused on keeping my kids in a stable situation, as stable as it could be, and to show that no matter what, I choose them over and over and over again. When they had moved in, I had told them, "There's nothing you can do to like, you cannot misbehave enough, you cannot,
Mm.
whatever you do, I will
I'll be
love you, you are my child."
mm.
And um I said, "I'll come visit you in jail if I have to." I don't know what, like, we could play cards. I don't really know how that all works, but we'll make it
I don't know what
happen,
we'll do when you're in jail, but I'll
yes,
come visit you. Yeah.
like, we'll do it,
Yeah. Don't go to
and
jail, but I'll come visit you if you do. Yeah.
yes, yes. So
Like, I'll love you like Jesus because 'cause he'd go to jail
yes,
with
I'll
you.
love you no matter what, but I'll come visit on visitor's day. Knock on wood, that
Yeah,
hasn't
no.
had to happen.
Yeah.
But, and so it wasn't until really I started Celebrate Recovery,
Mhm.
um, that I realized I'd been in survival mode that whole time,
Oh,
even as my kids had, I literally just didn't stop. I was constantly anxious. I was constantly, what's the next thing gonna be? I couldn't let my guard down, and that's exhausting,
yeah.
and that's a
Survival
long
mode is
time.
exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I definitely and I just was numb to everything. So um people were shocked like when I got a divorce because I just kind of pretended like it wasn't happening. Like wasn't having a bad home life. I was just out. It's another day, And so not that you go around saying, "Oh well, my husband still
No, I
sucks."
think it's
I mean,
important we stop here because I'm gonna tell you, more than 2 handfuls of people do I know of, men and women, but predominantly women, me being one of them, who, are in a situation, a relationship situation where you are in survival mode, you're shut down emotionally, you're no longer feeling because frankly you don't have time to process those real emotions. You've got to survive and keep moving forward. In doing so, much like you, interesting enough, this would be an interesting sub science thing, Jada, for us to find out on a later podcast because all of them portrayed like they were in good marriages. All of them didn't let the world see what was really going on. All of them really did a very good job at looking good, me included. I mean, I have to raise both hands. I did a very good job. Um, and I want people who are listening right now, if you're in a situation in any relationship and you find yourself that you're numb and you're in survival mode and you're exhausted and you're tired, and you then are spending all of this energy making sure that no one can see the dysfunction and pain, Barb and I want to let you know, first of all, you're not alone.
Absolutely.
I think you're not alone. We have been there. And we understand personally that there may be reasons, embarrassment, fear of shame, fear that people will judge you, whatever that fear is, and whatever that shame is. We must tell you that if you can be brave enough to be honest and take one step, do so. Reach out to one person to let them know that the facade isn't real. And by the way, Barb, tell me if this happened to you. So when I let the world know the facade wasn't real, right? With divorce papers. No one knew until
Yes.
divorce papers, right?
Right.
However, so the majority of people were shocked, but the people closest to me were not.
Right.
And
The ones
matter of
that
fact,
really
the
know
the
you.
people that were closest to me were like, "It's about time. Like, we're tired of this." So, I just wanted somebody listening right now, there is somebody close to you that already knows, and they'll be with you in this no matter who judges you. I think that's really important for people. I don't know what the science is behind that, why we're in a numb survival state, why we paint such a beautiful pictures. Now I'm gonna leave that one, Jada. Jada someday is gonna get us some science on that, and we're gonna do a whole podcast on that because she's gonna figure it out, especially with her background in psychology. So, but so I really appreciate you being honest there, Barb, about that because I think so many people are living this way.
Absolutely.
And it's not a great way to live. You don't get to feel. But I want you talked about celebrate recovery, and I want to go into that. And Jada, if you can link Celebrate
Yeah.
Recovery, some information about that for our listeners. You've been a leader of Celebrate Recovery. I've got to watch you go through it.
Yeah.
I saw it change you
Yeah, it
and
has for sure.
continue. But as a leader, you've walked with many people through, you know, what we're talking about. Why do you think so many of us equate being strong, like if we're strong, we can't feel or we have to shut down? Or we're numb and that makes us strong. Why do you think people struggle with feeling?
Well, some people are scared of feeling
Mhm.
because, um, especially if you've spent a majority of your life, um, in survival mode. I mean, and there's people that have been, abused their whole childhood and they're just trying to survive. I mean, they literally are trying to survive. And it's almost a fear thing that if you let a little bit out, it's not going to stop. And they're scared. And plus, a lot of people just pretend. I mean, I grew up in a family where if you just didn't talk about it, it didn't exist.
Ah,
I mean, obviously that's not the truth, but
right.
that's,
Yeah.
um, when I was in high school, I asked for therapy, and my parents they thought it would look bad. So I swallowed a bunch of pills and I made them. I got therapy with the intention of getting therapy, not the intention of killing
Yeah.
myself.
Now
I mean,
that's drastic.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
you
I mean,
want to
you
talk
got
about a drastic call for help.
yeah, well, I'd been literally for months and months and months saying there's something wrong. I mean, I have friends, I play sports, I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't have, I mean, I had all of my needs were met. My physical needs, my emotional needs obviously weren't, but I, I just said enough is enough. Like, how many times do I have to ask for therapy before it happens? And so it happened. And it changed my life for the better. That was my first step. But then, I think as women, when we get emotional, we're either bitchy, whiny, weak. I mean, it's very hard for women to show a lot of emotions because we're judged and it's instantly. And then for men, if they show any weakness, you know, they're a wussy, they're not manly, like they're supposed to be strong. I mean, I was definitely raised that way. And I think probably a lot of people in our generation were raised that way. I'm hopeful for the younger generations that has changed and people talk more about feelings now. But I mean, I was 17 years old and going to my parents and saying, please help me. I need medication. I obviously have there's a chemical. I mean, there's something wrong. And they were like, oh, it's just the teenage blues. No, it's not. And so, and then when I ended up going there's a special floor at Baptist. I'm not sure what it is now. I think they've moved it, but psychiatric floor. After I had to get my stomach pumped, which is not pleasant.
Don't
By the
advise. Yeah.
way, but I went to the psychiatric ward, and my dad came in that afternoon, our first day that I was in there, to meet with George, who was our therapist. I introduced George to my high school, by the way, as my shrink, because I just like, if you break an ankle, like, you go to the doctor. I introduced him to. I mean, everyone knew who George was. So the first meeting, my dad walks in and says, okay, I cleared my afternoon. Let's get this taken care of. Oh,
Like
that's
it was
not
gonna
how any of
happen
this
one
works.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. He cleared his afternoon. We were going to get taken care of.
Oh,
And so that gives you an idea of what I grew up with and how
Wow.
much real stuff we talked about,
Wow.
And so, but I do think it's society. I mean, I do think it's gotten so much better. But I introduced George as my shrink because, number one, if somebody's going to call me crazy, I'm going to beat them to it. I'm not crazy. I deal with depression and anxiety, and George is helping with it. Just but also, I just figured I have friends that are going through this, and they're
Yeah.
not getting therapy. They need. I mean, everyone should do some therapy at some time in their life, honestly.
it's
We-
funny. Every
we-
person that has had a therapist at some point says that.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Yes, I agree.
People who listen to this podcast are going to start thinking we own a therapy
We
facility
don't.
because we don't, but because we're like therapy. Duh.
Yeah. Well, however, I am in school to get my master's in counseling to become a counselor.
That
So
is
I
you
currently
are.
don't have a business, but I might.
In the future, if you listen to this in a couple of years, you
Yeah,
may-
exactly. Hey,
Exactly.
hey Barb, with I want you to, the people that are going through Celebrate Recovery, are they seeing breakthrough with this? Are they, is this their cry for help? Are they, and this is not a plug for Celebrate Recovery,
No.
really, but I really want to say, I've never been through it, but I've heard amazing things where people get in it, get unnumb, learn how to live. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
So with Celebrate Recovery, it's a 12-step program, just
Mhm.
like AA or they're
Mhm.
all have the 12 steps in some iteration. But with Celebrate Recovery, it just ties it back to Jesus. And it really is all each step, it's definitely, you know, Jesus wants us to be happy and to love ourselves and to love him and to love our neighbors. I mean, but what Celebrate Recovery does, and some of the other programs have this, but you have weekly homework, and it's workbooks, and it walks you through the steps, and it asks you the tough questions. And what's interesting is the first couple weeks, they're pretty surface answers. But then you have a leader who has done it before. So they're answering honestly and real, just a real answer.
Mhm.
And so then slowly the whole group is doing their real answers. It's not surface anymore. And it really makes you look makes you think, and it makes you look at yourself and your life, and and it makes you look at what your part is, and how could how could I have made my marriage better? And not that that's the goal, but yes, I do have some fault in it. It wasn't all just him. And maybe I could have stopped it, and I have to acknowledge that. And um and then obviously, like, some of them come with, childhood abuse. They have to acknowledge they have no fault in that. There's literally nothing that's their fault, but they still feel guilt about it. And so it really just asks you the tough questions. And so you start looking at yourself. I mean, I've got peace that makes no sense in the middle of, you know, like I had a account hacked, and all my money was gone and whatever. And I'm just like, it'll work out, because it will, and then, but then I wasn't able to pay other bills. And I just called and I was like, hey, my account, like, as soon as I get the money back, you'll get like, what can they do to me? It's not, I mean, I can't do anything about it except for do what I'm doing. And it takes time. And in the past, that would have thrown me into a complete, just panic, and maybe trying to borrow money. Like, I don't even know. But I'm like,
Right.
it's going to work out. I mean, I just have a peace that makes no sense, and that's Jesus. Um, but what got me there, and I've always been a believer in Jesus, and I love Jesus. I do go to church, but I'm a Christ follower. Um, so that's my focus, is Christ. However, um, I mean, I think there's other 12 steps. If you do the work,
Mm-hmm.
there's other programs, and maybe there's people that don't believe that Jesus is who he says he was, and that's okay. I mean, that's their belief. So there are the AA has workbooks. I mean, but you have to do the work. And I know friends that have done their 12 steps, and they've gone to rehab, and they've lived in sober. They've done all the surface work, but the first time there's a crisis, we're starting over. And so you have to do the work, and you have to sit in the pain, and you have to acknowledge the pain. And it's not fun,
No.
but it is so worth it.
Yep.
And it's hard, and people do multiple. I'm doing my third step study, and I have friends that are doing their 12th step study. It keeps them accountable. You can also do Celebrate Recovery and other 12 steps with just going to meetings and maybe not actively doing the steps, but still staying plugged in.
And I think what's
Um,
important is that people realize it's not just, I know AA is typically just for alcoholics. I know people that have gone through Celebrate Recovery who are workaholics. I know
yes,
people who gone through Celebrate Recovery who were spendaholics. It's any addiction or affliction that is stopping you from feeling. And usually addictive behaviors are a numbing behavior. And that
yes,
could be binge watching TV. That could be anything that is ceasing you from living. I really want people
absolutely.
to hear that. Okay. So this is not just alcohol
At
and
all.
drugs. I mean, that's a component of it if that's what you're struggling with. But we're talking about, being numb, and people, you look strong, but truly you're numb.
Right.
And numbing behaviors are a coping mechanism. Being numb is not living, even if you look like you're thriving. And, we really want you to hear that. I know, Jada, you're going to put some notes in it about Celebrate Recovery. I have not done it, but, I've been thinking about doing it just for this podcast and
Yeah.
for my life. I've had a couple, my pastor at Crossings, Marty, he said when he went through, did a sermon, and he talked about his friend was like, "You need to do this." This was before he brought it into the church, and he's like, "Why? I don't have that problem, blah blah." And then his friend was like, "No, you need to do it," and he did it, and now he as a pastor, talks to people all the time about the power of this. And he talks about, even if you think you have nothing going wrong in your life, still do it. Because
Yeah.
he said it was life changing for him, for his own life, but awareness of other people. And so, just something to say there, because what Marty said has made me think, you know what, I should probably do
Yeah.
that. Who knows what God will, God, he'll be like, oh, onion, yeah, I got
Yeah,
some stuff for
absolutely.
you, right? But
Absolutely.
the point here is, this is a tool to help you get unnumb, or
Well,
address the numbness, right?
yes, everybody has hurts, habits, and hangups.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
different degrees, different things. But so, I mean, we have people like you said. I mean, we have people that deal with grief from losing a loved one, um, overspending, um, food addiction. I mean,
Whatever it is.
all of it,
Mhm.
anything. I mean, we all
Yeah,
have things, and that's the thing that is so important for people to understand because when you're going through it, you feel like you're alone. And like you said, you're not alone. And none of us are alone. And you think you're the one, so people keep their hurts, habits, and hangups, their addictions, their bad marriages, their whatever secret because they think no one else could understand. Or I'm the only moron that's staying married to this guy for way longer than I should have. Well, as it turns out, had I not been married to him for as long as I was, I wouldn't have gotten my two boys.
yeah, yeah,
And because I mean, maybe I would have, but I have a hard time believing that, DHS would have said, you know what's a great idea is giving this single woman two teenage boys that have been in foster care since they were 4,
yeah. Probably not.
So it's a pretty good guess that they wouldn't have. So
I have a personal question, and I'll
yeah,
I'll I'll do it with you, because this is a personal question. So when you started to unnumb, you know, what was one of the hardest emotions that you had to learn to feel?
really just being able to, it was really just to be able to relax,
Mm,
to not be waiting for the next crisis, the next thing that I didn't have enough money
mhm.
for, or the
Yeah.
next, whatever it was. Just knowing e everything's gonna work out.
So
I mean,
anxiety, I mean, really, that
it's an anxiety. My
anticipating
anxiety is
anxiety.
way
Yeah,
less,
yeah.
but it was constantly, like, searching for, "Okay, this could go wrong,"
Mhm.
and so I could trying to convince myself that I had to be ready for all situations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was pretty easy, uh like, the grief like, I had grieved my marriage way before my marriage was over. However, it was a new grief,
Mhm.
that my kids weren't gonna have what we promised them.
Oh.
And then, I still even though, like, when I went to the court and I told my office, "I'm just gonna go get divorced. I just have to go meet with the judge, and then I'll be back at 3 or whatever time," and I couldn't stop crying because that was
Yeah,
grieving, uh, uh,
yeah,
and what I had envisioned in my life and what was all part of the plan, and that was shocking to me because I was relieved that it was finally over, and it caught me completely off guard, and my divorce attorney, he's really great, I've been friends with him since about junior high, um, I was like, "Okay, bye," hugged him, turned around, and then just
oh,
and so it's really kind of, caught me off guard because 'cause I'd kept that and plus I'd kept it all in. So it's hard to when you're constantly in survival mode, it's hard to feel anything,
mhm. Yeah,
you know?
I will say my first was, I used to be able to talk about my abuse as if I was a third person.
Yes.
I would have no emotion to it, like, zero attachment to it. Um, and I would almost feel sorry for that person, oddly, right? That was detachment. Obviously, I had to do that to survive.
Yeah.
But even as it was for me, I guess it's not really an emotion, it was an ability. And it was an ability to cry for myself, to have empathy for myself, and to feel the emotions I had made numb. That ability, and I will just warn people, depending on the level of your numbness, when the numbness started to wear off and I started to live and feel, it was weird.
Yeah.
I had gone numb for so long that I was like, okay, what's the, and I would cry at this or this would, and I had to learn to regulate,
Right.
because the emotions came. And that it opened my eyes to a different world, a different understanding. And I was able to, the biggest thing, I'll never forget sitting in my therapist's office and crying for that little girl who went through all of that and really understanding she was me and how sad I was. Um, and so I think that the emotions will come. I want people to realize once you get some help and you allow yourself to feel, the emotions will come. Some of them will scare you, some of them may overwhelm you, some of them will shock you when they come,
Yeah.
but that's called living. And you can't heal if you don't feel, right? I
Absolutely.
mean,
No, it's
that's really, that's a key thing there, and I think that people need to understand that. And, have you seen that? I mean, have you seen people who were in survival mode who now are not? I mean,
yes.
what were some of their, outside of Celebrate Recovery, what were some of the things they did to start getting emotional health?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, um, their counselors suggested they
Mhm.
come to Celebrate Recovery.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that's kind of funny about Celebrate Recovery that's different than a lot of other
Mhm.
programs is a lot of people show up and they don't even know why they're there. Like, so, I mean, we
Believe
have,
that. I believe that.
yeah, so we have people every year that are like, I'm not sure why I'm here. And we're like, "Cool, happy you're here."
Yeah.
And they figure out why they're there. Um, but, I went because my sister told me. I mean, I went because my sister said, "You need to do this." She's done one more than I have. And so it's just funny, and I was like, "Okay." I kinda thought it was a Bible study. I didn't totally know what it was, but I'm like, "Okay, I'll go to this women's group." What and then now I'm in my 3rd, I'm leading, um super involved. And so, but like there's people that come because their aunt needed to come. And so they brought their aunt to make sure that she came, like to support their aunt. But
Mhm.
then they stay too because, you know, they
Yeah.
obviously are like, oh, wait a second. There might be some things I need to work through.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, a ton of people don't know why they come. Or somebody said, "Hey, your codependency is a big one," and that's kind of a blanket.
Mhm.
I
That
mean,
is.
it is a real thing, but I think also um, a lot of us have codependency, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And I'm still codependent. I don't want to pretend like I've been, I'm never. You're never fixed or cured. I can acknowledge it and make a healthy decision of whether I want to do something for my child, or is this being I'm trying to fix my child, or I'm trying to take away any pain my child would ever feel? Because, yes, I want to, it's a natural thing. And it's hard, like as a mother, it's hard sometimes to go, am I being a mom? Or am I being codependent and trying to control a situation? And anyway, we can do another one on codependency, but there's just all the I mean, so we have people literally, or they're like, "I lost my husband, and somebody said I needed to come here." And most people don't realize what it is until
Mm.
they're there.
Yeah.
And it helps that we have a bunch of people that have done it 2 times, 3 times, it's not so bad. Otherwise, you everyone would be one and done and never come back.
Yeah, no, yeah. Most people do it multiple. Hey, I wanna talk about that because I know, um, part of Celebrate Recovery is religious, and I'm gonna go down an interesting road with you here.
Okay.
But I know you're a person of faith, so am I. But there's a lot of people within faiths that say emotions like sadness, anger, fear, um, depression, anxiety are not emotions we're allowed to feel, or they're bad emotions, or we should just give that to God and we shouldn't have that feeling. Jada, I'd love for you to even chime in. I mean, what do we think about that? I mean, we're all Christian ladies. I mean, both of you have backgrounds in um, um, what am I trying to say? In psychology. Both of you have studied in college psychology. Both of you are working to get advanced degrees in psychology. I've been around a lot of psychology because I needed therapy forever. Um, and I'm absolutely sold out to Christ. But so, given who we are, what do we think about this? Are we
Well, I
allowed
still
to
have,
feel and be a Christian?
yes. As it turns out, we're not Jesus. We are humans.
Say it louder for the people in the back, Barb.
We're not Jesus. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
So I hand things to Jesus and I give it to God, as they say. And then I realized I've taken it back. And then I'm like, so, okay. But at the same time, we're human.
Mm-hmm.
And we have human emotions. And it, there's just, I mean, you can pray about it, you can do whatever, but I'm still going to worry that my sons are going to, like, I'm not capable as a human woman to just say, whatever will be, God, and then just not worry that my sons are want my sons to be doing the right things, or I want them, I don't want them to hurt. Like, eh, I mean, I'm sorry. And I still have depression. I take medication, and I will for my whole life. I have since I was 17, and I will take it until I die or forget that I need it. Because I mean, whatever.
To chime in on this, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think my answer to this goes a lot back to when people ask, why do bad things still happen to Christians? And I think the fall is a short answer. In the Bible, as Christians, we are not promised an easy life. We're actually promised quite the opposite. We are told you will face trials and tribulations. And so I think that those emotions come along with it. I think, God's best for us was before Adam and Eve, and obviously Eve ate the apple, because we're humans.
Yeah,
and we
because she's
can,
human.
yeah, because she's human. She's not
She was,
Jesus.
yeah.
And so I think honestly, it goes back to that. I think the same principle applies. It's like what Barb said. We're human. We're not Jesus. Yes, Jesus walked the earth and he was perfect. We are not. We're not Jesus. That's why we needed Jesus. And so I think I think my overall principle just goes back to that. Like we're not promised an easy life. We're promised the opposite. And I think those emotions of anger, depression, sadness, fear, I think all of those come along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I agree. I mean, we're human.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel those feelings. So if you're listening and you're like, I'm not allowed to feel, by the way, that's not biblical. That's not rational. It's not logical. That's not good advice. I spent a lot of time in therapy to feel all the emotions.
Right.
I just want to let you know that. A lot of therapy. I
Mhm.
won in therapy by feeling emotions, and I feel them all. I think what's important here, I want everybody to hear this. It's not that you don't feel it. You feel it. Acknowledge it. Then you can take it to the cross. Then you can take it in your faith. Then you can ask for help in it.
Mhm.
Then
Well,
you
and
can do that because you don't want to be ruled by these emotions,
Mhm.
but you will feel them. And I think that's the difference. And
Yes,
people
And I mean,
don't hear that.
I would even say the Bible wouldn't say cast your fears and anxieties on the Lord if we weren't meant to have if we weren't allowed to have those emotions.
Now, somebody has to fact check me. Jada will do this probably. But I read somewhere that the fear not is like 365 times in the Bible.
It's
Now,
a
I've heard
lot.
that
I
a couple
forget
of
the exact
times.
number.
If that's so, if we're not allowed to feel, why did he say that so much? No, right? So, and again, this is not a Bible.
55 times,
How
which
much?
means 365 times. Ironically, that's how many, days are in a year.
Absolutely.
Coincidental. Hey,
Yeah.
I think he's telling us, hey, you're going to feel it, stop it. You're going to feel it every single day, stop it.
Yeah.
Right? Hand it to me. So I really, for this podcast, we're not trying to be Bible thumpers, Jesus thumpers, although we're kind of sold out. But what we're trying to tell you is feel the emotion.
Yeah.
Don't
Yes.
be numb. And no matter what faith you have, don't. I would question a faith that tells you can't feel. I don't think that's what
And
Christ is telling us. He's saying, take your feelings and give it to me. I know I
yes.
went on a 3-mile walk this morning by myself, and I will tell you, for 1.5 of those miles, I was letting him have it. And I was like just telling him this and this and this. So finally, and I was having all the emotions and he was getting it all. And then finally at 1.5 miles, I literally said, ladies, I said, okay, I'm done bitching and begging. Now I'll praise you. And I put on praise music for the rest.
Nice.
Because I'm like, you can't tell me not to feel these things. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm gonna feel it and I'm gonna tell you all about it. So I wish somebody had a video camera on me this morning. They would have just been cracking up like this lady's crazy. But all right, we're gonna go on to the next one because Barb, you and I could just talk forever.
Yes,
But
we could.
um, there are people out here that they're struggling and they're scared. And they're living numb. And what would you tell them outside of Celebrate Recovery? I think we've kind of nailed that one. But what would you tell them, Barb? What's one thing they could do this week towards living a life of health and healing by letting go of the numbness?
I would say to talk to somebody,
Yeah. Yeah.
anybody. I mean, it doesn't have to be a counselor. It doesn't have to be. I mean, just anybody. And obviously somebody they trust. If
Hmm.
it's um, but sometimes, I mean, just saying it out loud
Yeah.
is the first step. I mean, that is the first step in all the recovery programs is admitting you have a problem.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
it. So, I mean, but if you talk to somebody about it, um, you're just gonna feel better.
Hmm.
I mean, you just are. I don't really know the science behind it, but you are.
What's interesting too is I'll say this when you talk about it, it starts a ball rolling. And sometimes I just want to caution people who are listening. Sometimes that ball seems negative at first. It doesn't always go beautiful at first. Don't worry about that. Just the being honest and getting the emotion out. Trust me, sometimes it gets a little messy, but there's freedom on the other end. So don't let that messy. And I'll just share this. Uh, when I finally said after over a decade of being sexually abused, when I finally said it to out loud, the reaction was not good. I was told it didn't, I was told I was lying and whatever. However, that was only the first reaction. There was a wave of reaction that happened after that that made the abuse stop. My life changed. So I don't want you, even if it's something big like that, even if you come against obstacles where somebody is saying you're lying or that's not true, go back with your truth. And beyond that, there is good things that come from it. So stand bold, talk to somebody. If you get some negative response at first, just know your truth and move forward. Don't let the messy at first, if that happens to you, stop you at all.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. And then the other thing would be just to go to a meeting, and I mean any meeting. Go to church, go to CR, go to AA, go to NA, go to there's Codependence Anonymous, there's Adult Children of Alcoholics, there's Al-Anon. I mean, and you don't have to share your life story when you first go to those meetings, but what it will do is put you in a room with other people that are just, and when I go to church, it's like, how did you know that's what I needed to hear today? I think it's because I just need to hear it every Sunday. I mean, it's not like all the sermons are designed for me, but it feels like it sometimes when you go to church. But when you go to an AA meeting or anything, you'll see there's other people that are dealing with exactly what you're dealing with, even if your problem isn't that problem.
yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Jada, this is a big subject. What a podcast is. And any science to support this so we like really solidify the truth here?
Oh, always. I'll definitely nerd out here. So I do have some science.
Yeah.
The first one shows that emotional suppression increases stress and physical illness. The research in that shows that chronically suppressing your emotions doesn't make them go away. It drives them deeper into the body, which increases stress, inflammation, and your risk for illness. Um, so that's the first one. And it also talks about how people habitually suppress emotions, express higher rates of heart disease, autoimmune disorders is a big one, and then even just shorter lifespans. So thought that was really important. I know we've talked a little bit on the ACE scale before of how a lot of people with high ACE scores tend to have an autoimmune disease. And so it just kind of plays back into that. Second one is numbness is a trauma response, not a personality trait. Neuroscience confirms that emotional numbness is often a learned survival strategy, especially after trauma or chronic stress. The brain's the brain down regulates emotions to protect you when life feels overwhelming, but staying in numbness long term blocks the joy, connection, and growth. Kind of on that same topic. So this is something I'm actually learning externally, but I've learned that anger is actually a secondary emotion because it is um, like a survival skill, a coping mechanism for your other emotions to suppress them because anger is a lot easier to outwardly express for people.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
The
just
anger
interesting.
wheel.
Mm-hmm. Or the emotion wheels that you're talking about?
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
anger is in the middle and all the other emotions.
Yep.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so basically, like, if you start to feel fear, your body will suppress the fear and replace it with anger because anger is a safer emotion for you to feel.
That's
So it's a
wise. That's good wisdom right there.
Yes, it is.
Yep. And then the third statistic is on emotional awareness and how it builds resilience. So studies show that people with high emotional awareness and emotional flexibility, or the ability to feel and process the full range of emotions, have greater resilience, stronger relationships, and better leadership outcomes. So in other words, feeling makes you stronger, not weaker.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Athena, that's what I had for our science today.
Yay.
Where's the rubber meet the road?
All right. You guys know the rubber meets the road is because not because we like cars or tires. It's because we want you to be able to take these stories and this science and actually apply it. This is where we're hoping that you have a binder and you're writing these things out. And can I just say, please share this podcast. People need to hear. These are beautiful stories that people need to hear and how they can overcome. So today on the rubber meets the road, what do we do with this knowledge? What do we do? Right. Number one, name the emotions that you were taught not to feel. Think about that. What were you taught not to feel? So here's a journal question. What emotions were never allowed? Like Barb, you weren't allowed to have any emotion. I mean, you're crying for help, you know, literally had to do something drastic
Yeah.
because
I
you
mean, that
you
was
were
my only.
feeling
Yep.
when people are like, no, you can't feel depression. It's not, you're like, right. So write those things out. What were you not allowed to fear? What were you not allowed to feel? Or that never, that whatever that motion is, it could be anger, sadness, fear, grief, even joy. Some people, have to repress joy. Whatever it is, write it out and write without judgment. Just put it out there and without shame, please. So identify some of those emotions. I will just tell you, I was never allowed to feel safe. My surroundings, feeling safe was not. And I say not allowed, the circumstances were never safe. So it wasn't a feeling I could feel. Um, but God's fixed that, thank goodness. But give yourself permission also. Number two, give yourself permission to feel that feeling now. Okay. Now I'm going to say this sounds really easy. If you can do this and you can say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and grieve for this situation, or I'm going to feel sad for this, or I'm going to feel joy for this, or I'm going to feel peace for this. Feel the emotion. If you can do that on your own, fantastic. If you cannot, do what Barb said, reach out to somebody, get some help so that you can actually unlock that numbness and begin to feel. Again, I just want to say, remember, you're feeling it, you're not being controlled by it. Okay. Feeling it and controlled is not the same. Number three, practice, name it and tame it. Right. So naming the emotion out out loud and then writing it starts to make you aware of it, right? And makes you aware of it. And so I want you to write out when you notice yourself shutting down or going numb, or pause and ask yourself, right now, what am I feeling? What's making me go numb? And then stop, breathe, and then tame that emotion, tame it. Okay. So if you're going to go numb, what is making you go numb, and tame that emotion? And or what I tame, tame the numbness, pardon me, tame the numbness and find out what that emotion is. Okay. You're gonna have to breathe through that one. Number 4, build a safe support system for your emotional health. This is critical. You need to be around people who allow you to feel, allow you to be authentic and honest, but also allow you to not be controlled by those emotions where you derail your life or make bad decisions, that you have people around you who want the best for you and who are really speaking life into you, but that you can be authentic and honest with and feel. Um, I hope I pray for that for everyone listening, that you have that support group. So in summary, name the emotions that you were taught not to feel. Give yourself permission to feel them. Practice name it, tame it. If you start to go numb, what's going on? Why? And how do I take control? And most importantly, I think build a support system around yourself so that you have a system around you to be emotionally stable and thriving emotionally. I promise you, Barb and myself, and Jada, as we become unnumb and heal, our sphere of friends change. It's okay if that needs to happen for you. That's normal. It's not that you are becoming a bad person, it's that you are becoming a healed and healthy person. Okay, so just know that it's okay if you need to do that. Jada, where do we go from here?
Well, Barb, for anyone that wants to connect with you, whether that be about Celebrate Recovery, business, or anything else that we've talked about today, is there a way that people can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So, my cell phone number is 405-420-9300. You can actually just Google Barb Yeary and that comes up. But also, my email is barb.yeary, and Urie is spelled like Happy New Year with a Y on the end. Um, barb.yeary at me, which is just at me.com.
Perfect. And I'll make sure that those are in the show notes as well. That way anyone can just go there and find them. I'm also going to link Celebrate Recovery. And then we talked a little bit about it today. So I'm going to link our feelings wheel. We've linked it before, but
Yes,
always
that's
good to have
great.
on hand for us that
That
have
is
gone
good.
through therapy. I'm sure we've all used it. And if you ever need it, it's a good tool to have. So
Will
I'm going to link
you
that. Yeah.
also link just Crossings Church? That's just where I go to celebrate recovery,
That's where we
Yeah.
go to church too.
where Athena goes to church too. And
They have a lot of programs, outreach, a
so
therapy
much.
program. They have a lot of resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, while you guys are talking about that, so I'm going to link Crossings Church and then my church for us listeners or listeners that don't know. I live down in Dallas. We have something very similar to Celebrate Recovery. It's called Regeneration, and so
Perfect.
I'll link information on that as well.
Great.
Good. Excellent.
Perfect. So otherwise, other than that, you can find all of those in the show notes. But if you did enjoy this podcast, we would love to invite you to like and subscribe so you can join us next week. Share this message with anyone that you feel like needs this message. I think it was
Yes.
very applicable today. And honestly, if you want to find us on other streaming platforms, social media, the internet, wherever it may be, Athena has a pretty cool and unique name. So just search Athena
Yeah.
Captain. You're bound to find us. Other than that, we do always want to leave you guys with something serious. And that is that this is not your practice life. So don't wait for perfect. Start messy. Start scared. Just start, because nothing's going to change until you do. So take one step today toward the life that you want and dare to share it with us. We'll be here with you every step of the way. We'll see you next week.
And we mean it. Thank you so much.